Hello, my name is Elizabeth Snell, and I'm one of the Employee Fellows this year. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about mindfulness in the workplace. So, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is really the idea that you are fully present and engaged with what's happening right now. So, that means not thinking about the past, not looking towards the future or worrying about the future, but really teaching our brain to be present in what is happening at this very moment. This is a great video. I think gives a really good introduction to mindfulness, how the brain works, and why mindfulness is important.
The human brain is a profoundly complex organ. 90% of its activity occurs beneath conscious awareness, which means that even though we assume that we have some control of how we think, feel, and behave, modern science suggests it's not so simple. The concept of neuroplasticity is a new and exciting area of science. It highlights that our brain is constantly being reshaped throughout our lives by both our experiences and our thoughts. We now know that it is the focus of our awareness that determines which brain networks are strengthened and which are weakened or lost. That means that when we get caught up in cycles of worry or irritability, these are the networks within the brain that become stronger. So the more we worry, the better we become at worrying. However, on the other side of this, if we practice being calm, clear, and focused, we can strengthen these networks too. As humans, our brain differs from other animals. This is mostly due to the front areas of the brain called the frontal lobes, often called the new brain, as it was the last to develop in our evolution. When well developed, this part of our brain helps us to manage our strong emotions and respond with flexibility, even when we feel overwhelmed. It also helps us to tune into the feelings of others with empathy and insight. When we feel worried, distracted, or stuck on achieving goals, our brain function is more strongly dominated by our old brain, which has a part called the amygdala. The amygdala manages the powerful fight and flight response, which switches on when we feel stressed or anxious and releases hormones and chemicals such as cortisol and adrenaline. That is why stress has such a big impact on us. Mindfulness is a technique that can help us to manage this process more effectively by building our skills of attention, concentration, and a capacity to direct our awareness in a certain way. This all means that we're less likely to be swept up by a strong emotion and the power of the amygdala. It also means we can bring choice to our emotions and our thoughts. In doing so, we're playing an active role in changing the way the structure of our brain develops, in much the same way we can change the shape of our body by doing certain exercises at the gym. When we practice meditation regularly, we build a capacity to become aware of thinking and emotion. As our mind becomes more settled, our nervous system is able to take in more accurate information, and we can access capacities for creativity, flexibility, and lateral thinking, which enable us to manage challenging situations more skillfully. When we build skills of mindfulness, we still experience negative feelings like frustration, disappointment, fear, or irritability. But the research shows that we recover much more quickly. We now know from research into brain development that regular meditation and mindfulness practice reduces the size of the amygdala, reduces levels of stress hormones, and strengthens connections to the frontal lobes. This all means that we're more likely to live with less stress and more happiness.
I really love the imagery that video presents. It makes sense to me that the more you stress and the more you get anxious, the better your body gets at doing that. So it almost becomes a default. You come into a new situation that you feel unsure about, or you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and your body says, well, I know how to handle this. We're just going to stress out. So it also makes sense to me then to think about the brain and mindfulness as sort of a muscle to develop. Much like you're not going to be able to run a marathon overnight, it's something that takes work over and over again to make those muscles bigger and stronger. So as the video mentioned, mindfulness doesn't eliminate stress or any kind of difficult situations, but it allows us that ability to become more aware of our emotions and respond how we want. So we sort of acknowledge those emotions instead of reacting to them sort of without thinking about what could happen. It means that we can choose how to respond. Is it going to be calmly? Is it going to be with empathy? Or, I love this phrase, measured anger. Is there a time and a place where getting a little bit more heated or having a stronger tone of voice may be beneficial? So you all probably know how bad anxiety and stress can be for the body. In the video, they mentioned that fight or flight, status. And when you're living in that all the time, it's not good for you. It increases risk of heart attacks and strokes, increase blood sugar levels, suppress the immune system. It can increase heart rate, cholesterol levels, and of course, it disrupts energy levels and sleep. So mindfulness can help with all of those things. It's not again, it's not an overnight cure, but if it's something that if you continue to work on, can really have a big benefit for your body and overall wellness. So my goal today is really to give you some suggestions for ways that you can build mindfulness into your everyday life in very small increments. So I love this phrase, stealth mindfulness. So it gives you ideas, things that take you a minute, maybe two, to really think about while you're doing these daily activities you already do. So for instance, when you're taking a shower, take a minute or two of your shower to really feel the sensations of what that shower is like. What is the temperature of the water? How does it feel hitting your body? Or what are the sounds it's making as it hits the shower floor? Getting dressed in the morning, maybe you take more attention to the texture of your clothing or the colors and really pay attention to what you're doing. Walking, this is a great way to build it into any moment of your life, essentially. Maybe at work, you make it your bathroom routine. So every time you go to the bathroom, you think with every step, you can either count each step or you can say left, right, left, right. And again, what you're trying to do is just focus on the here and now. Nothing else matters at the moment but what's happening this moment. I also love this waiting in line example. I'm sure you've all been at the grocery store and you're standing in line and there's the self-checkout for maximum of 20 items and the person has 50. Taking a few deep breaths at that moment and maybe even wishing them well, changing that anger or frustration towards that person and change it into a more positive. Maybe this is the only time they could get out of their house to help a sick relative, or maybe their childcare situation is very strained and they're in a rush and who knows, so giving them almost the benefit of the doubt that, and changing that frustration to something more positive. Some additional suggestions. So maybe every time you're in traffic and if you stop at a red light, you take a deep breath. Maybe the first 2 bites or first couple sips of your lunch, maybe you take mindfully. So you really, again, think about the taste, the texture, the smells, everything to live in the moment. We've all, we have nonstop meetings throughout the day. So maybe before you start each meeting, you take one deep breath. And this is something that not everyone's going to realize you're doing, but it's going to give you a chance to kind of reset yourself before you go into a situation that could be stressful or taxing. Just gives you that kind of brief reset before you do it. And then, your choice. So think of something you do every day and what is one thing or one way that you could make even 30 seconds of that activity something where you're paying more attention to what's happening right here and now. So this is a great method that I discovered recently, and I do have the TED Talk where it came from in the resources. So this is called 3x3, and this is literally a 30-second exercise that you'll be surprised at how well it can actually help throughout the day. So the way it works is we're going to name 3 different objects in the room, and you don't want to associate any descriptors to it. So you don't want to say that's a pretty lamp or that's a beautiful table. We just want to name that item for what it is. So I'm just going to do it based on what I can see right now, but feel free to try this yourself and, use whatever things that you see in the space that you're in currently. So that is a computer. Deep breath. That is a table. That is a chair. So I'm not even sure if that was 30 minutes, but I don't know about you, but just taking that moment to just take 3 deep breaths and kind of focus on 3 different objects was helpful. So this is a great way to de-escalate. So maybe you're feeling a little bit stressed out. Maybe you just got off a difficult phone call. This is 30 seconds you can take to kind of, again, reset yourself in a very short amount of time. Reading, I know you may not think of reading as a form of mindfulness, but it is, especially fiction, because you're being taken away from your real life at the moment and living in this fictional world. It fosters empathy because you're thinking about these characters and caring about these characters, and it helps with focus. So they say that even just 6 minutes a day can decrease stress, which is a pretty reasonable amount of time that I think we could all devote to reading every day. Visualization. So you probably hear all the time, especially if you were a former athlete, how important visualization is. Imagine that basketball going into the hoop. The reason why visualization is so important is that this is kind of a way to trick our brain. So the more you engage all of your senses in a moment, the more your brain doesn't know that you're not actually there. So for instance, think of your happy place. Maybe it's the beach, maybe it's the mountains, maybe it's a garden. Think about sitting in that space and engage every sense that you have. So what does it smell like? What is the feel of the sun? What is everything that you can think of to really, really picture yourself in that space. The more you can do that, the less your body doesn't know that you're not really there. So you can get the same benefit of sitting on the beach by sitting in your chair and really focusing on visualizing that moment. It's a really powerful tool that doesn't require you to buy a plane ticket or anything. It's really an exciting way to get the benefits of your favorite place without having to go there. We live in a very technologically focused world. So of course there are many, many apps to help out with mindfulness. I think I read the other day, there are 2,000 apps for meditation and similar. So these are a few of my favorites. Headspace, it has a lot of great ones. It's particularly good if you're new to meditation and need to have sort of a ramped up approach to it. They kind of start from the beginning and give you tips and tricks on how to get better at meditation and doing it for longer. Calm is another great app. It has a lot of good features. It does cost some money after a certain level to get some of the higher level features that they offer. Oak is a fantastic, simple app I use all the time. It has some free guided meditation, some breathing visuals, and then it has a really nice thing where you can just play nature sounds or a short sort of guided meditation to help you towards sleeping. I found it really, really beneficial myself. So I want to take a moment to actually give this meditation a try. I specifically chose a very short meditation because I want to show that even taking something like 3 minutes can be really beneficial.
So just taking a moment, just getting comfortable, back straight, the eyes open, soft focus with the eyes. And just starting with a big deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you close the eyes, as you breathe out, just letting go that feeling of stress, of tension. Doesn't mean that the mind would immediately stop thinking about it. Just allow the mind to do its own thing as you just pause, feeling the weight of the body, contact with the surface beneath you. Noticing how the body's breathing And now you can just place your hand on your stomach or your chest if you can't feel that movement. And just letting the mind do its own thing for a moment. Just gently focusing on that movement of breath. And of course the mind is going to wander off. But wants your attention right now. The moment you realize you got caught up in thinking, just gently noting it in the mind. Oh yeah, it's thinking. And coming back to the breath again. Doesn't matter what the situation is. For this moment, just gently label it. Thinking, let it go. And come back to the breath again. Again, notice the distraction. Label it. Oh yeah, thinking. And come back to the breath again. Giving the mind plenty of space. Allowing those thoughts to play out. Gently bringing the attention back to the body. Back to the space around you. And gently opening your eyes when you're ready.
So hopefully you found some benefit from that. I just wanted to show, how even taking 3 minutes of your day, if you did this regularly, you are going to build that part of your brain that's going to help you respond to stress and anxiety much more effectively. So just a note on self-care, I'm sure you've heard the word thrown around, but it is really, 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 really important. These are the things that keep us from getting to that high anxiety, high stress level. They recommend something like 6 different forms of self-care a day. And they don't have to be big things. Maybe it's having a healthy meal. Maybe it's getting a good night's sleep. Maybe it's burning a candle of a scent you really enjoy, or using some lotion that you really enjoy the smell of. It doesn't have to be big level things, but just something to really, really think about. And I just keep in mind how important it is to take care of yourself. So these are some links to some resources. I'll post them below as well. There's some information on kind of the science behind mindfulness, that 3x3 method where it came from, the TED Talk, just in case you'd like to read a little bit more or learn a little bit more about different things. And then here I've got coming soon, but we actually have the resource now live. If from a university phone you dial 4111, you're able to listen to a guided recording that will give you a very brief meditation. The goal is to change these at least once a quarter so that hopefully you can get different meditations when you do call. But the beauty of this is no one knows that you're making that phone call. You're sitting at your desk and you're just taking a few minutes to just, reset and try to work on that mindfulness. There are some faculty that offer guided meditation throughout the week in the MAB Lounge. I believe they use Headspace, so they're using a set program of things to use. And then some of the resources I've shared today have come from a wonderful website called De-Stress Mondays. This is a great resource. They have weekly tips. They have guided meditations and videos, breathing visuals. So this is another great resource for you if you wanted to sign up for their newsletters or follow them on social media. So that is all I have for you today. I do hope that this is something you'll set as a goal for yourself to add into your daily life. Again, you can do very, very small increments throughout the day to help work on that mindfulness muscle. So thank you so much.